I don't care if it's irrefutably scientifically proven that any urban legend, from Bigfoot to the Loch Ness Monster to Mothman, doesn't exist, I will still believe they exist.
This is my impersonation of a guy who woke up late for work and got ready really quick. But then, when he ran down the stairs, he realized that he forgot his car keys, but he was in too much of a rush to go back for his car keys. And so he called a cab, and then they drove all the way to his office. And then when he got to his office, he realized it was Saturday. Oh, man.
Welcome to the Council of Nerds.
The Council of Nerds.
Can you imagine that actually happening to you, though?
I feel like something like that has happened to me. Um, at least with
I've
like
gone to work
school.
where we used to work together and slipped on ice right outside the door on the
Ah,
way in and was like, I don't want to be here anymore, but I went to work anyway.
that reminds me. That, that
Welcome to Council of Nerds.
sorry, hold
Sorry, go ahead.
on. That job, that story reminds me of that same job. I think it was before you worked there though. We worked with this guy named Spencer, and we would always on Saturdays we'd run to Wendy's because it was like right across, the way right there.
Yep.
And and it was winter, and we were like all running there, and we're like, we're not dressed for snow, and this guy Spencer, he like we're running that he slips on ice and just rams his knee like right into like the slab of ice he slipped on, and he had this massive purple bruise on his knee for like weeks, and he was like, "I'm never going to Wendy's again."
Was
uh,
Spencer the guy with the mustache and the bald head?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Okay,
Spencer.
I couldn't remember if he was
Well,
bald.
welcome to the Council of Nerds, everybody. Now that we've gotten the nostalgia out of the way, we are said council. You can follow us on Instagram. Our podcast is available anywhere podcasts are available: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, as well as on YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of those other platforms, head over to YouTube, give us a listen there, and comment your favorite and most believable urban legend.
Hmm.
Whether that's Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or something weirder that we don't really know much about. It could be a local urban legend. Let us know what that is. We'd love to hear from you. Also, big shout out today to a friend company of mine that's doing a little fun thing for us today. Emery's Boutique on Instagram. That's EMERYS underscore BOWTIQUE. It is a bow company for children's bows and little matching mom-daughter bows, as well as little bow ties for little baby boys. She just got in a shipment of some nerdy cloth material, ranging from Harry Potter, Star Wars. I think she had some Disney, Winnie the Pooh stuff that my wife is definitely buying. If you're interested, go check them out on Instagram. Again, that's Emery's Boutique, EMERYS underscore BOWTIQUE. If you mention the Con podcast as their source of hearing about her, she will give you 15% off your purchase. So it's pretty awesome. So go check that out. She's a good friend of mine, and she's given us a cool shout out on her Instagram as well. So there
Yeah.
you go. First
They
partnership of the podcast. Hey, hey.
they are pretty awesome actually, especially the nerdy stuff she just got. I don't even have a kid and don't plan on having a kid anytime soon, but I think we'll probably end up purchasing a couple just because they're cute. So go and buy
I
one.
have a 1 year old daughter, and my wife has already purchased. My wife's a huge Winnie the Pooh fan, so she's already purchased a few of those.
Mm.
And she bought the Stormtrooper bow, which
That
I'm
was a
very
good one.
excited to take pictures with her.
Yeah.
So go check them out. It's a good company, small company. She runs out of just her house,
Yep.
but she's a good friend of mine. So, but to the episode, as you can maybe clue in from my intro, as well as the comments to leave on YouTube, we're going to talk about urban legends
Bum,
today.
bum, bah.
We're going to give our evidence, whether we disbelieve or believe the ones that we have chosen, whether they're outlandish or probable, and then just kind of debate back and forth about what it could be, what the sightings could originate from, things like that. It's going to be a fun little discussion. But yeah, I'm sure you guys all have your own little fun, small things that you guys had. I didn't have anything local around my area growing up. That was like the urban legend. I
I
didn't even
did.
have like a haunted house. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Oh man,
everyone,
I
it
did.
seems like every neighborhood had like that creepy house. You're like,
Yeah.
you can't go there, man. The devil lives
Dude,
there, man.
we
Like you
had,
can't, like
we
I
had
never had
that.
that even.
I grew up in the Portland area in Oregon. So obviously we had Bigfoot. Bigfoot was a thing.
Yeah.
I lived right near the Columbia Gorge, which is just, if people don't know, it's the Columbia Gorge, Columbia River. But there's just tons of
Oh,
hikes out there. There's just,
thanks.
yeah, look it up. But I mean, there's tons of hikes out there. It's the forest, it's Oregon, Mount Hood, forest, everything. So Bigfoot was huge. I'm a firm believer in Bigfoot. Nobody could tell me otherwise. But also we did have, there was this I don't even know the honest like history of this place. I probably should, but I don't. But there's this old house called the Harlow House where they actually like, it was like a historical place for the little city I
Sure.
lived in. But growing up, it was always haunted, and to this day, I'm still scared that it's haunted. And I don't even remember the full story of why it's haunted. But there's
Mm.
also just like tons of like abandoned barns in the middle of nowhere in the general area
It's
where I
always
lived.
creepy.
And they're just creepy. And we'd go out, driving at night in high school and be like, get out of the car. Go to the abandoned barn.
We would touch the bar and run back.
No, you do it. Stupid stuff like that.
I grew up in Orange County, and I'm sure there's got to be something in Orange County, but the particular area I was in, the only thing we really had was if you had the balls to go run out in the ocean at night and then
Oh yeah,
try
no.
try to swim past the jetty and swim back,
I
which
don't even know
is,
what a
by the
jetty is.
way, very stupid. A jetty is like the rocks that go out in the water. They're kind of like
All
a
right.
jetty is like a man-made pavilion, either made of concrete or rocks that section off beaches.
Oh,
Like you'll
okay.
have specific jetties. You can walk to the end of them and stuff, but they're usually, oh, I'm gonna say probably 100 yards, if not more, out into the water. By the time you get to the end of the jetty, it's the drop off. It's fairly deep water. So it was always a nighttime swim if you could get out there. I never had the cojones
No way. I
to
don't
do
do
that.
dark
I'm not
water.
about that life. And then when I grew up, I found out that because I was right across my beach, you could just look across and see Catalina Island out there. And I found out that the stretch of ocean between my beach and Catalina Island is a great white shark calving area. So yeah, no, I'm not going in that water at night. I'm
I
not about that life. Um, yeah, in my high school we believed that the I did theater, surprise,
nerd.
um in high
Theater
school.
nerd.
And hey, don't. Um I want to stay friends at the end of this episode. Um there was always a belief that the theater itself was haunted. The high school I went to was built in like the 40s. And so it'd been around for a while. And when I got to school, they had just torn down the original theater and built a new one. And so everybody was like, "Oh, you kicked up all the spoopy ghosts, man! Like, oh, spooky, spooky Halloween!" And like, you can talk yourself into some weird stuff, right? I am a firm believer in some paranormal stuff. Like, there's things that happen in this world that you can't explain. I'm totally okay with that, understanding that. I don't need to understand everything, but I do also believe that you can feel yourself and talk yourself into like things happening to you. Your
Mm-hmm.
brain is a powerful, powerful thing. So if you're told over and over again that this place is haunted, and you're in a situation where you're already afraid, every little noise, every little thing is gonna be that's a ghost, and you're gonna run for your life. Things like that happen with my friends all the time. We're like, and it's probably the janitor changing a trash can. Like, what I mean, like it's probably nothing, but there
And
you
the
go.
janitor would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you rotten kids
I
and your
saw
dog.
something today that said it was supposedly a tweet from DMX, rest in peace,
Rest in peace.
um, that said, Scooby Doo is the most useless piece of crap character in that show. He doesn't contribute anything to this team. Why is it named after him? Why isn't the show called Velma? And I thought it was the funniest thing on the planet. And I know it's probably not even a tweet from DMX, but the fact, just thinking of him caring that much about Scooby Doo is really funny to me.
Yeah, that's like the have we talked about this on the show when there's like that interview of like Freddie Prinze Jr. and what's her name? Uh,
I don't. Yeah, I know the lady who played Daphne. I don't
yeah, the
know.
girl who's married to Freddie Prinze Jr. Um, and she's like going like, I just loved Scooby Doo growing up because it was, it wasn't about like the man's the leader, the woman's the leader. Everyone was included. Like it was this whole thing. It was so good. And then Freddie Prinze Jr.'s like, I mean, it was a talking dog. And that was his reason for wanting to be in Scooby Doo.
Such a
Legend.
bro moment. It's like
So
it's a
good. And
talking dog.
it's a talking
So
dog. Anyway, we should probably get to
bro.
our urban legends that we're talking about here. Um, I don't know if the one I chose for my urban legend is well known. Maybe more in the East, of course, because that's kind of where it came from. I actually I've heard of it, but not really in the past. But I really kind of started looking into it a little bit more recently because I'm an illustration student. We had an assignment where we had to design like a museum poster for it was like fake, right? For the Museum of Natural History, the American Museum of Natural
Nice.
History. So everybody had like their own, we would come up with a bunch of drawings, and this one girl drew Mothman. That is mine. That's the one I chose. So she drew Mothman, and my teacher was like really into it, and my teacher's cool, and I was like, "What the heck is Mothman?" Like I've never heard of Mothman, and he like went into it a little bit, and I was like, "That's kind of interesting." So I wanted to dive into Mothman a little bit. So
I'm excited.
I don't know how many people out there have heard of it, but Mothman is a
If you've played Fallout 76, not a lot of people have, but if you have, is like a boss fight in that game
oh really?
because that game takes place in a certain part of the United States.
And is it in West Virginia?
It is indeed
Oh
in
my
West
goodness.
Virginia. In the
Uh,
game, he's some like guy who got mutated with a moth. Like he's actually like a moth man.
right, right.
Like it's weird. Yeah,
Well,
but
that's funny. That actually reminds me. Mothman, for some reason, my mind always goes. There's a villain in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and his name is Baxter Stockman. But he accidentally spills like he's like this nerd, like a science nerd, and he spills like some of the mutation ooze on himself, and he turns himself like into a fly slash
yeah.
man, and so. But it just reminds me of Mothman every time. Baxter Stockman. Um, and the turtles always say his name wrong, and he gets mad. It's really funny. Anyway, so Mothman, he originates, like Brian kind of said, he originates from West Virginia here in the U.S. of A. Um, Apparently, the first like sighting of the Mothman was in the year. I have it right here. Of course, I lost it. It was in the year 1966. I don't know why I don't have the exact date. I don't know where it went. But it was these guys they were grave diggers, right? Um,
Ooh.
and they were just out. Oh yeah, here it is. First reported 1966. There was three guys, and they were out grave digging. This is gonna kill me. I had the origin story. Okay, here it is. Five grave diggers. Sorry, not three. Out working nearby cemetery, reported seeing a humanoid figure flying over their heads. So the description of Mothman is kind of terrifying, and all the like drawings out there are like really
Pretty
disturbing.
creepy.
Yeah, they're super
Yeah.
creepy. Um, they actually remind me of. Do you remember that movie? I can't believe I'm forgetting. I saw it with Connor, who has been on our show. Like I'm forgetting so much tonight, but it's the movie that was like it's like the opposite of Superman. It's like this kid who has Superman powers, but he is evil.
Oh, it's called like Bright.
Brightburn, I think.
Yeah.
It's really scary. It
He
freaked me
becomes
out.
like
I hated
he
it.
becomes like a mass murderer, but
Yeah,
he has Superman powers. It's
it's
creepy.
absolutely terrifying. It's kind of like, do you
Doesn't he
remember
wear like a burlap sack over his head or
something
something?
like that? But do you
Yeah.
remember? Did you see the movie?
I didn't. I watched
Okay.
a YouTube video on the synopsis of the movie though.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. I saw the movie. But like he would like make these disturbing like drawings, and it was like what he wanted to be, and it had like red eyes, but it was just like black
Yeah.
pen scratches on a paper making a little kid with red eyes. It was terrifying. So that's basically what Mothman, like all the images out there look like.
I have to look it up while you're talking.
It's creepy. I just that movie freaked me out. I was like, I
There's
hate scary
apparently a
movies.
Mothman movie.
Oh yeah, it has the guy from Runaway Bride in it. I don't know his name.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, those are creepy, man.
most of the theories for, well, not theories. Most of the people who don't believe in Mothman, I should say, the doubters. He's a doubter. Um,
John the non-believer.
yeah, they just believe it was like owls. Like some are like, oh, it was a barred owl, or it was an American barn owl, or it was a they
Large owl.
or a big bird. You know, they're always like, oh, it was sandhill crane or a heron. I'm literally reading these names because why would I come up with sandhill crane out of nowhere? Um, and but like that's what a lot of the doubters believe. They're like, oh, it was just a freaking bird. Um, now I'm neither. I don't think I wouldn't say I'm a believer, but I'm definitely not a doubter. I'm kind of in the same range as like what Brian said at the beginning. What you said, you know, like I'm not gonna doubt it until there's like hardcore proof that it's completely fake, which there never will be. So I guess I'll believe.
Throw me in the believer
Yeah.
category. It's fine.
It seems like most of Mothman sightings tended to be around eastern USA. So like West Virginia, Virginia. I read about one in Wisconsin. But there was another one I read that like happened in China. Um,
Ooh,
I think it was in China. It was like some dam in China or
in a
something
little
like that.
international.
Yeah. Um,
China.
I am going to read, I have the top 10, I'm not going to read all of them, but top 10 Mothman sightings with pictures proving it is
Ooh.
real. Um, so I'm going to share my screen with Brian. Other people won't be able to see this, but I think it would be more fun for Brian to see it.
It's always more fun for me to see it. We use
Yes.
Discord.
Yes, we
Again,
do.
for those who don't know that, you can join our Discord through our Instagram account.
Yes.
So,
All right. Can you see that, Brian?
ooh, yeah,
Yeah. This
that's
one This
interesting.
one's interesting. Yes. All right. All right. Here we go. So number one, which is, it shows a picture and it does like the typical urban legend picture where it has like a circle that's like the zoomed in with like the line pointing to the thing or whatever. I'm not even gonna read these things. We're just gonna look at the pictures. The first one is a picture of a bridge, and it shows a big bulky uh,
Mass.
mass uh, silhouette on like the top. What do you call that? Like the top part of the bridge
I don't
that
know. A
isn't
buttress? I have no idea.
the
I think that's part
buttress,
of it.
the buttress
I
of the
don't know.
bridge. Um, it kind of
Precipice.
looks it kind of looks like a giant bat, uh,
Yeah.
just like but like not hanging upside down, but hanging right side up, just like
It
hanging
looks
on the
like it's got
side.
its wings closed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely does have this, these long legs, this manly, man-like figure. This one is like they took that superhero from Marvel, Falcon or whatever. Is that his name?
Uh, uh-huh.
It looks very photoshopped. It's just like it looks like it looks like a Mothman flying in the middle of a busy city.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
photoshopped. Good try though. Well
Good
done.
job.
This one's
Okay.
terrifying. Not real,
Okay.
but
If that was a
terrifying.
real photo,
Speed
I
up,
would,
dude.
yeah, run that thing over, bro.
Oh my gosh, that is
What?
terrifying. This thing looks. People obviously aren't going to be able to see this. I mean, you could if you joined our Discord and I could post it. Join our Discord, by the way. This thing is literally like.
It looks like a
I,
dude in a suit.
it looks like a dude in a suit, but it's terrifying at the same time. I mean, the head part is the really freaky part.
It looks
Um,
like a high quality edit in a horror film.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
a found footage horror film.
I wonder if this is from that movie. The-
It might be.
um, it's still terrifying though. So he has like big red eyes, and that's how everybody describes Mothman. Most sightings they say come from at night, and so that's why people say they have these red eyes. It's pretty freaky. This one definitely bats,
Yeah.
like or a bird.
In Missouri in 2001.
Yeah, these are definitely bats. It just come on. There's two of them. Um,
Look, freaking bats.
freaking bats, man.
This looks like
Um,
picture number 2 from that same bridge.
maybe I honestly I bet it is, but it's like a picture of it leaving. So that's where I think those are gonna tie in though, because to me I was like I don't know about that first. It might just be part of the bridge, but now it's showing it off the bridge like it's flying away. So those are the type of pictures I actually do like because it's like okay, plausible, you know, like it's
Right.
not just a guy in a suit or bats. Um, but yeah, that one's it's like that first picture we talked about. That was of the on the bridge. This one I read about, or I watched a YouTube video on. Definitely just looks like a moth
A
was in a
bug.
car or on the window.
Yeah.
But what I read was that like this guy and his kid were driving somewhere, and there was this uh, man-like giant moth figure flying by them or whatever, and it let out like a massive screech, and gave that they got nauseous from it, and so they like
Mm.
pulled over. Um, little weird. I also read so from the first sighting in '66. 3 days later from that sighting in the graveyard, some other people sighted it as well while they were driving in their car, and they described it as it has always been described, the big moth man with red eyes. But they said it was like flying up to like 100 miles an hour because they were driving and it was like chasing their car or something. Mind you, this is the 60s. Totally could have been on some sort of psychedelics, if you know what I mean. Um,
Right.
but you
Always
never
have to
know.
put that little disclaimer in there.
Could be on psychedelics. This one I can't even see it, and I don't know how to zoom in on it. It's like a path,
Yeah, it doesn't even look like anything.
it looks like a
Could this be
bear.
Mothman? It looks like someone circled a tree trunk.
Like
Like,
if I look really close, it's a bear. Like
oh,
it's a
that next one's the best
whew,
one yet. It's just a
dude.
drawing.
It's like a
It's a
10-year-old
sketch.
Drew Mothman. That's literally like
Like a police sketch artist that just took a description
that's
and
like
wrote it
this.
down.
This is like, have you seen that video? This actually ties with urban legends of I think it was in Georgia. It was like the leprechaun sighting. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, it went into that tree." And then they're like, "Here is a professional sketch of the leprechaun." And it's just like this stupid sketch that like a 10-year-old drew of like St. Patrick
Of a
the
short man.
leprechaun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
it's
like a
so bad.
leprechaun.
And then the guy in the news was like, "My favorite part was the drawing." So good. And then the last one is just like a fuzzy, bright moth
Yeah.
on a window, basically. So, Mothman, not very believable. But they do have a festival every year in West Virginia. It is the Mothman Festival. They have an annual gathering commemorating the visit of the mysterious entity known as Mothman. Every year, on the third weekend in September, thousands of people flood the streets of Point Pleasant. That's such a perfect name for a place that deals with Mothman. Point Pleasant to indulge and celebrate all things Mothman. Mark your calendars, September 19th. That's 2020. So I don't think they know when they're going to do it in 2021, but it's pretty cool. I like Mothman.
I see. I want all of them to be real.
I do too.
That's all.
But I
I just,
would want Mothman to be like a superhero. That's what I thought it was when my teacher brought it up. He's like, Mothman? I was like, is that some comic I'd never heard of?
I want it to be his last name, like Mothman.
His name is
Like
like,
his name's just Kevin Mothman. Like he's just
he was just like walking down the street one day in 1966, and he was walking by the cemetery, and there's like these 5 grave diggers who are
It was just a
probably
dude trying
on.
to do like an experimental flight suit,
He's like,
and and he's like, "Oh man, these guys are the worst. Gravediggers are the worst." And he went over. He's like, "I'm gonna scare him." And he just went like, like
"Whoa!" He had like two flashlights with like red plastic on the covering, and he's like putting them where his eyes were. He's like, "I'm the Mothman." Yeah, best joke ever. And then he got a zip
Oh,
line and chased a car going 100 miles an hour in 66.
hey,
Could
I've done
happen.
big zip lines. You cook down those
It's
things,
true.
man.
But that's Mothman. It's up
I
to you
like
guys.
Mothman.
Believe it or not, I think he's a pretty cool urban legend. Um, I don't recommend looking up videos because there aren't really any, and most of them you're like, that's just a bug. Like that's literally that's that's just forced perspective, like they did in Lord of the Rings, making a little moth look like a giant bug. And but is he real? Who
Yeah, I
knows?
really like that. I like the local stuff.
I
Like,
do. Yeah, it's kind of
I
like
think
a
it's I think it's awesome that they have a yearly festival over something that it's a little outlandish. Like
yeah.
Mothman itself is a little ridiculous.
Yes.
But it what else is there to do in West Virginia?
I don't know.
If
I've
there's
never
people
been there.
listening that have been to or from, I have a coworker from West Virginia, maybe I'll ask him about it.
Yeah.
But like, I have nothing else to do. Have a
Yeah.
yearly festival about Mothman, Kevin Mothman.
I just yeah, Kevin Mothman. I just think
What a
it
guy.
it's cool that it's like I always like those like small town uh small village urban legends. It's like a witch hunt situation, it's like
Yeah.
burn the witch, it's like burn the Mothman, but then they end up like worshiping him like a freaking demigod or something. I don't know. I think he's cool.
Things can get weird. True.
Yes,
All right. Well, mine's gonna be more widely well known.
definitely.
I might have gone the easy route on this one, but it's one that I emphatically believe in to the same extent that I believe in Sasquatch.
Oh,
Um,
Sasquatch.
Mine's straight up international, one location and one location only. Our good friend Nessie. We tried to avoid using the term monster when addressing Nessie.
He's a
We
gentle
feel that
creature.
it might. Yes, we have no but nothing but proof that she's a benevolent being.
Yeah.
So we actually don't have any proof that it's a male or female because we've never seen it, but
Yep.
I will never not believe. Um, my Nessie apparently has some dang deep history. First sighting of Nessie was in the year 565.
What?
Fun fact.
No
Yeah,
way.
by a saint, no less. Saint Columba. Yep, not Columbus.
Yeah.
Columba
Knockoff.
was the saint famous for bringing Christianity to what is now Scotland.
Wow.
He was an Irish saint, came and spread Christianity to Scotland. But in the year 565, Columba wrote down and documented a instance where the great ugly beast of the Loch's head rose out of the water and attempted to eat my servant. Is his account. This, I mean, guys, whether you're religious or not, this is a saint we're talking about. So come on, like, it's a pretty reputable source for the year 565.
But also, but also, could have been on psychedelics. Just saying, the
Oh yeah,
Vikings would eat
oh yeah.
mushrooms all the time and other
Well,
stuff.
this is
So
Scotland, not Norway.
I know.
Gosh,
I'm
come on.
just saying.
Uh,
It was a thing in those times. Saints got bored.
but yeah, that was the first of thousands, if not millions, of reported sightings
Amazing.
of a large snake-like bodied creature that lives in Loch Ness in Scotland. Fun fact about the number of lochs. Um,
What is a lock?
loch is loch is the Gaelic word for lake, so
Oh,
it just means lake, but
I
it's in
feel dumb.
Gaelic. There are more than 30,000 freshwater lochs in Scotland.
Hmm. That
Um,
is a lot.
it's a lot. Some of them are big, some of them are not so big. Um, Loch Ness is one that it's quite large. Um, it is 22 and a half miles long.
Whoa.
And it's 22 square miles in the entire size of the loch. So it's definitely not a small loch. Um, and it's been around forever. And this legend has been around for 2,000 years.
That's insane.
But there's been some famous pictures that have been taken. I think most people have seen the infamous picture of back in the day
Yeah.
of the blurry snake-like body that was rising out of the water. That was debunked. I believe that picture was taken in the 60s. It was officially debunked as a toy submarine that had a toy dinosaur head attached to it.
I'll
That
still
was the
believe it.
official debunkment. I don't care what you have to say about it being wrong. Anybody out there, I will always believe in my girl Nessie. Um, this whole conversation is making me think of a really funny joke from Mitch Hedberg. May he rest in peace. And if it's Hedgeberg, then I'm sorry, I can't remember which way you say it. But you don't know who this gentleman is. He's hilarious. He passed away way before he should have. He's a one-line comedian, just a one-liner. One of my favorite jokes that he says is, "I spilled spot remover on my dog, and now I can't find him." I think that's hilarious.
That's
I
so
just
dumb.
think it's funny. Um, but one of my favorite jokes that he tells is about Bigfoot. And he's like, guys, what if Bigfoot's just blurry? Like the pictures aren't blurry. Bigfoot's just blurry. Like he just
That's good.
exists in a blurry state. And and the idea of that was so funny. He's like, maybe he's really self-conscious because he watches TV and like, guys, that's just what I look like. Like, like I'm doing the best I
Oh
can.
man, that's good.
And it was just really funny. I just needed to say that. But interesting facts about the loch and why it is one that is a little bit harder in terms of people are like, well, it's 22 square miles, right? So why haven't we been able to completely deduce that this creature that is presumably large doesn't exist in this confined, finite area of water? Well, few things. The biggest issue is that the loch itself is pitch black.
Hmm.
The water is pitch black. When you pull the water up out, it looks very clear when you take a sample. But looking at the water, you
Right.
can't see. Like if you were to go in the water and go slightly under the water, more than a foot, you would not be able to be seen from the surface.
Creepy.
That causes visibility to be issue. The reason that it's pitch black is because when it rains in Scotland, the hills in the surrounding area are covered in what's called peat. It is a material that is made up of decomposed plant material that just naturally accumulates on the hills in Scotland. It's black soil area, it's known for its black soils.
Yeah.
It's very nutritious soils in Scotland, but when the rain comes, the water rolls off these hills and goes right into the loch, and that peat, which is a very, very, very black color, causes that water to be very dark and very hard to see anything in. So no submarine missions have been very successful because you can't see anything, even with a light. So that's been a huge factor. This is something that's more interesting than a reason that it's not working. The loch itself never freezes and never warms up.
Wow.
It basically stays the same temperature within 5 degrees all year round, which I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the science behind that at all. Could be the content of the water or whatever. But it never freezes and it never gets any warmer. It's just always cold water. It's
Wow.
just cold. And I'm like, no, I don't know. That's okay. I don't want to go swimming in that anyway. So scientists took it upon themselves just last year. There was a documentary that was released on the History Channel about the hunt for Loch Ness, where they took water samples from basically any feasible part of the lake that they could cover, and they are analyzing it and separating DNA samples as best they can of any life that exists in water. They have been able to deduce that there is zero Leopleurodon DNA in the water. I don't believe it. Never will. Because in the samples that they have 22% of the DNA samples as undefined.
Oh, aka
Right?
grow up.
The scientists heading up the project literally said, I'll leave that 22% up to everyone else's interpretation. Like, so you're literally just feeding the
A
legend. Like, you're just
2,000
making
year
it
old
worse for
legend.
everyone.
That's my interpretation.
This is horrible. Interesting things they were able to find. Some people claimed that there was large catfish in Loch Ness that were introduced by royal families who lived in the area a long time ago. That was something that was documented that catfish were introduced into that area, and these catfish in particular could grow to be 16 to 20 feet in length.
Ooh,
Catfish are pretty big creatures.
true.
No catfish DNA was recovered from any part of the lake. The thing that they found to be interesting was the immense amount of eel DNA that was found in the loch.
Gross.
And they said there's no reason to believe that there's a giant eel, but mutations do happen.
Absolutely
Things could
terrifying.
happen. They're out there. Eels are
Yeah,
terrifying.
they're gross.
Um, there's super funny memes out there. That's amore meme, like the song. It's like
Oh, yeah.
the whole like that's amore, but like amore eel. So like there's like memes. It's like
So dumb. Oh,
um
man.
yeah, there's a lot of them. It's like little rhyming things. It's like that's amore. Like things are really funny. You should look at them. So there could be a giant eel that's contributing to this, but I am going to focus on that 22%
Oh, yeah.
that is undefined. Loch Ness has been rumored to be a large serpent, water serpent, rumored to be a Leopleurodon or another of that prehistoric water amphibious creature that somehow survived by staying in this one isolated freshwater area. Or now a giant eel. The catfish was a popular one, or a large sturgeon was also a popular
I
one that
hate
was
sturgeon.
thrown out there.
So scary.
You have a personal thing with sturgeon? Is that
Well, so in the first off, I want to say because before I forget this, 22% are good odds, right? Like that's
that's not
almost a
bad?
quarter. People go and buy lottery tickets with way less odds all the time, right? They're spending their actual money, their own income on less odds than that. So, yeah, 22%, that's pretty good. Now, my story about sturgeon, it's not much of a story. I mean, I've never like touched one or anything, but I'm like I talked about earlier, the Columbia Gorge, the Columbia River is known for its big sturgeon, and it's a very big and deep river. And sturgeon are like bottom feeders. They tend to
Yep.
be more lower in the water. But there's a fish hatchery at the Bonneville Dam on the Columbia River, and they have a sturgeon there named Herman the sturgeon. Um, and he's been alive forever. I used to go and see him there when I was a kid, like just a small child. And I went there like a couple years ago, and he's still there. And he's this
Herman's just hanging out.
dude. He's massive. He's like, I think he's either 10 feet or a little more than 10 feet. He's just massive. He's like a
Yeah.
freaking great white shark. And people who don't know what a sturgeon is, look it up. They look like prehistoric fish, which is
They're
basically what
yeah.
they are. I mean, at the hatchery, they have like a history of sturgeon at the Herman area. And like they basically said that like since the prehistoric age, the only thing that has happened to sturgeon, to our knowledge, is that they've kind of reduced in size. Like that's it.
They used to be bigger.
But like my thing is like, okay, to our knowledge, because they're bottom feeders, maybe there's like a freaking 100-foot sturgeon down in the Columbia River just eating other small sturgeon. You know what I mean? Like we don't know. Could be like Loch Ness, just chilling on the bottom. They're freaky, man. I don't like them. And they have been known to like come up
Just so
and
you know,
hit people or whatever.
the record for largest sturgeon taken from the Columbia near what I think is pronounced Dalles or Dalles, Oregon.
Dals.
Dalles.
The Dals.
Dalles.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. 11 and a half feet long and 900
Dude,
pounds.
they're huge, man. People are like, oh,
So you
it's just a fish.
take a second to think. It's a very prehistoric looking fish. So
Right.
take a second to think that if a 900 pound, 11.5 foot long thing like that swam by you, you wouldn't think that a freaking dinosaur is about to eat you.
Seriously. They're scary. That's why, like I say, and they have like these things, like the I don't know, the
Spines on their
scale,
back.
yeah, the scaly pattern spine on their back is so
Yeah.
prehistoric looking and terrifying. Like, just think if you just saw the back of a 11-foot, 900-pound fish with that pattern, just like skim on the water, so like you just see its surface, its back on the water. I'm done. I'm not swimming ever again in that water. Which I've never seen that because they are
Holy
bottom feeders, but
crap.
dude, they're terrifying.
The largest sturgeon on record ever caught was caught in the Volga estuary. Don't know where that is.
No idea.
It was 24 feet long and weighed
Oh,
1,571 kilograms, which is 3,463 pounds.
oh my gosh. I think
What the freaking
I
heck is
I
going on?
I think the largest great white shark, to my knowledge of like recent times, is like 25 feet. So that sturgeon is almost the record great white shark.
And it's a freshwater fish.
Yeah, it's in a river.
That is
And
what
people go to rivers like, oh, it's not that scary. It's freshwater. There's nothing
the
dangerous in a
Volga
freshwater.
estuary is in Russia, by the way. So
They grow
who
'em big
knows what
there.
happened to that fish?
We have dinner tonight. Yikes.
But few more fun facts about Nessie. One, she's real.
Yep.
Two, there is an awesome hostel that's located right next to the loch called Morag's Lodge. And it sounds like a freaking D&D location. Um,
That's a
but
good
it's
name.
all very thematic about Loch Ness and Nessie and all that. And it, from all reports, it's very cozy, very comfortable, and very welcoming with warm home cooked meals and local drinks and things like that.
I guess,
And I really want to go. I really want to go now and
dude,
go
let's
stay
do
at
it.
Morag's Lodge.
We should just go there and like one day we'll go there and we'll record a podcast there.
Hey, we're here at Morag's Lodge in Scotland because
I
that's
just
who
rolled a
he
nine.
is.
I just rolled a 19 on my D20 and I'm getting muffins for breakfast.
Hey. But yeah, that's Nessie. I firmly believe that there are things in this world that no one can explain, whether the Mothman is real or not, whether Nessie is real or not, she is. Whether Bigfoot is real or not, they are.
Yeah.
Um, you know, why for those people, and I think we've had this conversation before, but those people who are just like, those aren't real, man, like, and are just like firm on that. Why limit yourself and limit your
What a
world
boring
to say
life.
that things that are this fantastic don't exist?
Yeah. Come
Why
on.
do that to yourself? Your world must be so boring. Just come on, man.
I feel like it's good to note. I just recently watched. I haven't seen King Kong versus Godzilla yet. I'm really wanting to, so no spoilers if you have seen it. But I watched the second Godzilla movie that came out in like what 2019 or something like that.
King of Monsters or
So
whatever.
I don't even remember its
One
full
where he
title.
fights King Ghidorah.
Sh- is that the three-headed lightning
Yeah.
guy? Okay, yeah, that one.
I'm
I'm
the nerd
not.
who watched like the old '60s stuff
Oh, okay, yeah.
with
So
Godzilla.
I'm like not hardcore into Godzilla, but I was like, you know what? I should probably watch this. And in that movie, they talk about how like some of these creatures, more of like the water ones, I guess, the ones who go in the water. There's like our Earth is hollow, and that they can like
Yeah.
travel through these tunnels to get from one end of the Earth to the other quicker. Um, who's to say that's not true? I mean, we literally have only what is it? We know 5% or what? How much percent of the oceans do we know about? It's like 5% or
It's
something.
5%. And I saw a really funny video. It's like, how do we know that we only understand 5% if we haven't seen the whole thing? Like,
I mean, that's a good question. But I mean,
we
for
know more
real.
about the moon and Mars than we do about our own oceans.
Yeah, and it's just like who's to say? Like, there's more scarier urban legends out there. The megalodon terrifies me. I before I chose the Mothman, I was looking into maybe doing the Kraken, which is kind of
Oh
freaky
yeah.
in my mind. You know, like water ones freak me out. Water freaks me out in general. But it's just like, who's to say that these things aren't real? You know, maybe Bigfoot may seem like a dumber creature, but maybe he's actually way smarter than us, and he knows how to evade people better than anyone else. You know, I
Or
don't know.
maybe he's just blurry.
Maybe he's just blurry. Oh, that's good. But really, why limit yourself? Have fun, believe in them, research them, watch videos, no matter how ridiculous they are. I mean, we literally today, we just looked at pictures of moths on windows, basically, and we're like, maybe, maybe.
And that was enough for people to be like, yeah, it's real.
And like, there's no way
No
that
doubt, no
there's
doubt, no
no
doubt.
way that can't be real. We should make a festival every year for that thing. I'm just saying, have fun with it. Um, I don't know. That's all I got for today.
Yeah.
That was fun though. We gotta do another one when Dan's back. We will definitely do another one with different urban legends. There's a lot of urban legends. There's
There's a lot of
leprechauns,
stuff out there.
golems, trolls,
There's
giants.
a really fun movie called Trolls. Not like the animated
Okay, I was
one,
like, that movie
but
sucks.
it's I think it takes place like in Norway and it's all in Norwegian.
Oh
And it's
yes,
really interesting movie. I really like
I
it.
gotta
It's
see it.
very cool.
Um,
But yeah, it feels like a good place to
I
leave
have
off.
one last thing, a little announcement before we do the announcement again that we have about the bows. Um, if you're interested in kind of torturing yourself for almost 2 hours, an hour and a half or so, uh, Disney Plus has recently put on a section called Star Wars Vintage. They have the Caravan of Courage. I forgot the name of the sequel to it, but they put the sequel to it on there. The animated show Ewoks,
What?
the animated little 9-10 minute section from the holiday special where we first met the holiday special Boba Fett, which is so good. I love that animation. It's so cool. And a lot of people might really be interested in this. They put all the animated original Clone Wars from Cartoon Network. So not the awesome,
Ooh.
amazing Clone Wars that we all love, but the first idea that they did in 2003 with Cartoon Network. It's like a Samurai Jack sort of style of Clone Wars. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's
Yeah,
very Samurai
yeah.
Jack-ish. It's very cool.
But yeah, they put those on there. Like I said at the beginning, it's a warning. Caravan of Courage, very difficult to get through, in my opinion. Kind of worse than the holiday special, just because the holiday special was funny it's fun to make fun of. Caravan of Courage was just and now like I watched it and I was like, gosh dang it, I have to watch the sequel now. Like I don't want to, but I have to watch it. But it's fun. They're from the 80s, super classic. Might as well get into it. The Ewok show, I haven't watched it yet. The animated one. I kind of want to watch it. It's like Care
You
Bears but
kind of,
Ewoks.
yeah. Like I was gonna say, how's the Care Bears feel?
It's
Like,
awesome. But yeah, that's my little
yeah,
announcement.
we are the Council of Nerds. Thank you so much for listening. Again, you can follow us on Instagram. We also have a Discord. Link to our Discord is in our Instagram. You can find this podcast if you haven't already figured that out by listening to this whole episode anywhere that podcasts are available: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Anchor, and more. Also on YouTube. So if you're listening to us on a different platform, go head on over to YouTube, give us a listen there, and comment your favorite local or international or large scale urban legend that you either firmly believe in or are convinced is false. Also, don't forget to go check out Emery's Boutique. That again is EMERYS_BOWTIQUE on Instagram. Tell her that you heard about her company from the Con podcast, and you'll get 15% off some very awesome bows for maybe a niece, a nephew, or your own kids, or a cousin, or whoever in your life that might need a cute little bow tie for a little dude, or a beautiful bow for a little girl. So just let them know you heard from us, and then we'll give you a nice 15% off. But thanks you again for listening. We love doing this for you guys, and we will catch you on the next one.
Adios.
Bye.
The Council of Nerds.